So welcome to the Love Fly podcast. It's Paul Tizard, fearofflying coach, and today's special guest, mother and daughter, cabin crew, British Airways. Woo! Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This is just so weird because I've known both of you for ages, and then you've ended up becoming cabin crew, and so it's a great story. And so I'm going to shut up. So tell us about how it all happened, why you ended up being crew, and anything really. So over to you.
Okay.
Yeah, it sort of started where I wanted to apply just after college, and I applied online. Mum helped me as well, and Mum was doing beauty at the time, and she thought, oh, I might apply as well. She didn't really think too seriously into it, and she actually got to the interview process, and I didn't.
Oh no,
So she
awkward.
stole my limelight. But yeah, I was like to Mum, go for it. Like, it's such a cool job to have. And obviously I'm one of five, so we're all grown up now. So I thought it'd be great for her to go and do that. And then I applied 6 months later and got it. And then COVID hit, obviously. I mean, Mum, how long were you flying for before I started?
I was flying for a couple of years before COVID. I got completely fed up with the beauty industry after being in it for 30 years. So a lot of my clients, customers and friends are Gatwick crew. So I've been on trips with them. So I knew the sort of thrill of what happened and how to behave on the aircraft. And then Saskia said that she wanted to become crew. So I was flying 2 years. Then I got made redundant, which was really sad, but also really enlightening because I pushed my way through that. I did as much volunteering as possible. I learned a different trade. It was a scary time, but it was really enlightening for me because I got so many different views on life and people and struggles, and it was really enlightening. So I don't regret that phase at all during COVID. It was a real life's lesson for me. And then we were both kept in the holding pool.
Yeah, well, I was in the holding pool for about a year and a half. I was just about to start my training, and they sent us an email and said, you're in the hold pool, basically. And that's when COVID
must have been gutted.
Oh, I was absolutely gutted because I've been waiting for it since I left college. And seeing Mum fly and go to all around the world as well, I was so jealous.
Yeah, that's like, couldn't be any worse, could it really?
Yeah.
You did come with me on the trip.
Yeah, it's funny because I used to be a Klingon with Mum, and now she comes as a Klingon with me. So it's really nice.
We can go on each other's trips now. So some of the crew saw Saskia when she was at college, and they knew that she wanted to fly, and now they see Saskia as crew. So it's really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really great. So we've flown together 3 times.
Nice.
4 times.
Yeah, we did a Mother's Day trip, which BA organised, which was lovely, that we went to New York, and there was another mother and daughter on the flight as well. So that was really nice. That was really special for us.
No, that is amazing. That's lovely to be able to do that, to have that sort of common interest and stuff. And also, I see a lot of people going back. I'm not going to ask your age, Sarah, but I see a lot of people going back in later life. I saw a little clip, was it yesterday, on the Instagram from somebody who's started at 57. He'd been in police for 30 years. And I just thought, it just goes to show that it doesn't really matter. You can, if you put your mind to it, you can go and do stuff, can't you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's great because it's all different ages. There are crew applying in their 60s. There's crew returning in their 70s because during COVID they tried something else. They took redundancy and they can't get flying out of their system. So the eldest lady at Gatwick, who was one of our number ones at Gatwick, she's 68 and she's come back. She's a little fire rocket. But she's brilliant on board, and you just can't get it out of your system. So once you've done it, it's just a lifestyle. It really is, which we both love, don't we?
Yeah.
So Saskia, you knew you wanted to do this. I didn't know that about you, but Sarah, you it was more of like, oh, that looks fun, I'll do that.
Yeah, I had sort of two routes. It was either to be a midwife or to be cabin crew. And cabin crew was more appealing to me, obviously. Especially seeing mum do it as well. And she got in there before me, so that made me even more jealous. But yeah, now that I've been doing it for, it'll be a year next month, and the year has just gone so quick. And I had my recurrent training as well, which is obviously still really intense.
Yes.
To your general first training that you do, but it really shapes you into someone. I feel like it, you get used to being lonely sometimes. I think as crew, you are with people all the time, and at Gatwick it's smaller, it's a lot friendlier. People, you see a face, you walk into Atlantic House and you know a face, and that's what makes it family. It's really nice, but it can get really lonely on trips, especially if you don't want to spend money or go out or do this and do excursions. But I mean, you just learn to love your own company, and I think that's so important.
Regimented. So for Saskia, I mean, it is quite like being in the army. You have to put that uniform on, you have to look well groomed, you have to be trained in all safety aspects and first aid and all the scenarios that could happen on board. So it just puts you in a completely different mindset, which I'm lucky that Saskia's experiencing quite young, so she can work her way up and progress within the flying industry.
But how did you find it, Sarah, going in? You've done many types of careers and stuff. What was it like kind of starting again?
Oh gosh, well, I've had 5 children and I've always also had my own sort of career, but that I'd probably rather give birth than do that training. It was horrendous. It was a real shell shock. They had point systems. If you were late 2 minutes to a classroom, that was 1 point. You could get 2 points, and you were off the course. If you failed the safety on the evacuations or the fire drills or first aid, that was another point. You just got 2 chances and you were off. It was really strict, which it had to be, to be honest. It was really intense. It was like similar to being on the X Factor. You didn't know if you was going to get through the next day because you had exams all the way through. You had to get 90% the first week, and then you had to get 80% on all the following exams. So it was really, really intense. So I don't know how you get through it, but you do get through it if you really want to, if you push yourself. And when you've got through it, that team that you've been doing that course with, you are just one family. All different ages. You never forget who you trained with.
And you really don't.
You can always, if you've got a problem on the aircraft, off the aircraft, I'm sort of a mummy figure. So I do get a lot of problems from my age and younger, which is nice. You do help in all different aspects of life. It's really a lovely role to be in, cabin crew.
Yeah, it's a really rewarding job. It's hard work. But obviously there's a lot of perks to it. And if you have a bad flight, a few hours later you're sitting on a Caribbean beach. So
stop. Because I think we must be Facebook friends or something, Sarah, because I get your posts and it's always on some bloody beach somewhere or some really nice restaurant, and I'm fed up, to be honest. I'm gonna unfriend you.
Oh, don't.
Too much envy.
Oh, don't. Well, the crew sort of roll their eyes when they see I'm on their trip, because I've got an itinerary before I've even got on the aircraft. So I've looked up and I'm like, let's do this. I'm all for ticking boxes at my age. So I think life is got to be lived, and it's quite wonderful to all be here. So I just make the most of everything.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I was always amazed at how many times, as you know, I was a crew in my mid-20s onwards, and how many people didn't do anything. I was amazed. I remember getting, this is a long time ago, I got tickets for Madonna, and it was back in the 90s, I suppose, when I was there, about 96. And I had these tickets, which included backstage passes. I had 2 tickets at the Tokyo Dome. Could I get someone to come with me?
Oh, my goodness.
I literally had to give the ticket to some random stranger.
My goodness.
And I got given these 2 fantastic tickets, front row, backstage passes. And they were saying, oh, no, I'm saving my money, I'm staying in.
Oh, I know. You do get that a lot as well, which, I mean, it takes all sorts. Maybe they're just having time out from home life. You just don't know. We sort of
It's
leave
not
them to it.
acceptable. Stop being
I
so
know, I'm
understanding.
being kind. I'm being
I was in my 20s. I didn't have that ability to accept that at that time.
They need to kick up the butt, some of these, to make the most of life, but you can't teach that. They've got to experience that for themselves.
You are pretty hardcore though.
I am quite hardcore.
I mean, even we did a Cancun together. We had 24 hours there. We landed off a flight and she goes, right, come on, let's go to Coco Bongos. And I was like, oh my God, mother, you are mad. But I had the best time, and I think it just takes that one person to be like, come on, let's go. And it just does. Once you're there, it's the motivation to get somewhere. But once you get through it, you have the best time.
You do, and it's memories. It's all memories.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And also, how did the crew react when they realised that the two of you are kind of one to chip off the old block of the other one?
They love it, actually. Gatwick managers love it, that when working together, mother and daughter team, and
sort of say, oh, how do you not pull each other's hair out on the aircraft? But we're just not really like that.
I think I brought her up quite well, Paul. She's great on the other end of the trolley. You can get crew that are really annoying, but she's actually really good. So it's worked out really well. And
that's the best feedback.
Yeah, the passengers, if we're doing a demo and we're at doors 2, we're on a 777, so if we're doing a demo and we're next to each other, you can see passengers looking at me and then looking at Saskia, and they're sort of,
they figure it out.
They figure it out. And we give each other a little grin, don't we?
Yeah.
And they sort of figure it out. So it's quite nice. We've had quite a few passengers say mother and daughter, haven't we? Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. I mean, aside from the training, I don't know how long it is at British Airways. So
5 weeks.
6 weeks.
Oh, 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Hideous. Have you attempted any other? Because you've got other offspring that you could bring on, haven't you?
Oh no, Jessica would not be able to be on the aircraft. She would get the sack within 5 minutes. She would be so rude to rude passengers. She would last, not even 5 minutes probably.
Yeah,
she's not an empathist.
No.
She really isn't.
It makes you sound really bad.
She's hardcore, Jessica. Oliver wanted to be a pilot. He's gone on to a different route now. So he wanted to fly. They've all been on a trip with me. They all have experienced mum working, which is really nice. But no, it's just Saskia, the oldest one. She's got children, so maybe later on, but not yet.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a special type of person, haven't you, Mums? You're special in all ways. Oh dear. But it calms you down. I know it sort of sounds like we're crazy and mad, and I know crew are crazy and mad, but within the 8 hours before you get on that aircraft, and when you step on that aircraft, you put on a completely different base uniform. You become a different person. You go into like a robotic mode. You can have a laugh down route, and you take a friend with you, and they think, oh, this is great, this is really crazy, and they can't believe the difference when you've got your uniform on. It's quite surreal, really, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's important to always be yourself. I mean, when it comes to the serious stuff, security checks,
you go
SOPs, and you do turn robotic because it's drilled into your head. And it's really traumatic what you go through is in the training. It's like really emotional. So when you finally get on that plane and you realise how serious it actually all is, it's like, whoa. But then, it's nice to have a laugh in the galley with all the crew, and there's good banter, and it's just nice. It's really nice.
Yeah, as long as everybody's safe and comfortable and you know what you're doing, then you're a team, and you're always going to be a team, which is really good.
It's interesting, isn't it, that a lot of people don't realise that how often you're forming a team with people you barely know, or sometimes don't know them at all, and you just have to get on. And you perform a role, you gel, and you perform the function, then you might not see those people ever again. I just find it might not be the same at Gatwick Base, but it's just it just sort of blows people's minds that you can do that, because you see teams in normal jobs that have been working together for years and can't gel. And
it doesn't matter the age as well.
No.
I mean, I get on with
all different ages.
I went to New York the other day, and I went to breakfast with this older lady, and she was crew, and she was so lovely, and it just really doesn't matter about the age. It's just you just get on with everyone, and everyone is so different in their own small ways, but we've all got one thing in common, that we love our job. So it's sort of like chalk and cheese almost. It can be a bit difficult when it comes to being down route, and there's a lot of opinions.
I say you're on the 777 then.
Yes, we're on a 777.
Anything else?
We're on the Airbuses, short haul at Gatwick. Now that's Euroflyer, so we just have long haul for us guys.
Nice.
And yeah, which is really nice. I mean, you're stuck on that aircraft from 6 to 13 hours.
Yes.
So you have to get on. Because, you cannot not get on. You've got to work as a team. Obviously, you sometimes get that one crew that's, having bad times or a bit moody or just not the same as you. I'm not going to say anything else that's negative, but
being very, very diplomatic, honestly.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to get on, and because I'm part of a big family, we're used to different, personalities. So I think that's part of being crew as well. You're chucked on an aircraft with people you don't know to work as a team. That's part of being crew. The passengers are people that you don't know. So it teaches you've got to get on with everybody, haven't you?
Yeah.
You can sort of say under your breath what you actually think, but yeah, you have to put on that smiley face, don't you?
Yeah.
So we're sort of just to really rub in the jealousy front. What sort of places are you flying to at the moment?
Well, it's mostly Caribbean. Cape Town's just stopped for the summer.
We've just got Vegas back. I've got a 5-day Vegas next month, which I'm really excited about because I've never been before. So I think I might take Ollie with me because he's 21 now. So my younger brother. So that should be fun. Mum's tried getting on it, but she's not coming.
I've got a 6-day Mauritius next, which is nice. So we do get really good trips, don't we? Obviously, you get the Cancuns, which is just a night stop.
I'm amazed at that because that's a long old flight.
Yeah, that's one of our longest, and it's
one of the hardest for sure.
Your passengers are quite testing as well because it's party place, isn't it? What else? So we do America, Florida, Tampa, sort of New York, Costa Rica. Yeah, we've got some really good places, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've just got, where have we got? Ghana.
Yeah, they've just taken off Kingston and replaced it with Ghana.
Oh, we've still got Kingston.
No, that's what it's swapping. Yeah. So that should be fun. That should be interesting.
Yeah, Trinidad. Yeah, we've got interesting places, and it's nice in different cultures.
Stop talking. I've had enough now. I'm too jealous. I think the time you're doing it is when you do it, and sometimes I've entertained the idea. I thought, oh, maybe I could, but I don't know if I could. I used to find it knackering when I was in my 20s. I don't know how you do it, Sarah. You must be like,
I have gone part-time. I've gone part-time now, but I mean, with the day that you land, you sleep, and then you have to sort of spring back the next day because otherwise it throws you for the next trip. But I have gone part-time. So that's just 3 weeks out of the month. So it's normally about 3 trips or 2 trips a month, which is fine.
That's like the best job in the world then, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I get my little adventures and then I can come back and put my mummy head on. So it's worked out really nice.
That's amazing. So have either of you ever had any sort of fear of or anxiety about flying yourselves?
The only fear I had, and this was actually when I was crew, but I wasn't working as crew. I shouldn't have had that fear because it was just in my head. It wasn't, there wasn't going to be a problem. It was, oh gosh, I've forgotten where I went now. Skiing, not Sailbank-ish, Innsbruck. Sorry, I got there in the end. Innsbruck. Okay, so Saskia is looking at me like, come on, Mum, spit it out. It was Innsbruck. And there's 3 pilots on there, which I knew one of them. And we were caught in a go-around for ages, and it was just white clouds. And as crew, I knew, right, that mountain's there, that's there. But they're so professional. We got down really safely. And I know that they wouldn't have landed if there was any danger.
Yes.
So that fear didn't last that long, to be honest. That's the only time I looked out the window and thought, oh gosh, how on earth are they going to land there? But it was absolutely fine. And I should have known it was going to be fine. But that, just for that instance, you know, you get that, you know, what if? But it was all good.
Yeah, well, it's normal. I remember going, when I went through my training, thinking actually it'd be quite easy to develop a fear of flying, even though you've been taught what to do in case this happens. You also get shown footage of stuff, and you're exposed to things which people don't see normally, and I think that could be quite triggering for a lot of people, couldn't it?
Oh, I know. We watched the aircraft disaster program all the time. I love it because the reason
You're a weirdo.
I know, no, but the reason I watch it is because it's past disasters, and every time they've learnt so much from that. So to have something go wrong now would be near enough impossible. So it sort of teaches your mindset as well. When you watch those things and they investigate, aircraft investigation, and they investigate everything, and then it sort of adds up, actually that happened because of that, and they've dealt with it in that way. It does actually help your mindset. So I'm not a weirdo. Just slightly.
Yeah, I think it's weird. I always say to people that are getting over the fear of flying, don't watch those things, because it's all like a recipe for disaster. Because unfortunately, the way they put them all together makes it look like they're happening all the time, you know. And we know there's this massive gap between any instance, and as you quite rightly said, that every single time anything's happened, we've learned from it, you know, and that's why it's so safe now. You know, there's no such thing as 100% safe, I say, but
no,
it's not far
there
off,
isn't.
is it?
I mean, we, you know, that's why we're trained the way we're trained. But most of the time, it is turbulence that frightens people.
Yeah, let's talk about that then. So, what sort of things do you find? Yeah, so turbulence is a biggie. So, in your time you've been flying now, what sort of things do you notice happens for nervous flyers?
And they like to drink. They
do
drink away the fears.
They do drink, but normally we encourage people to tell us at the aircraft door if they're going to be worried or if they've got a fear of flying. If they have got a fear of flying, then we look over them the whole flight. If necessary, we will. I mean, I've sat next to a passenger who was terrified, and I've sat next to her. I asked the manager if I could hold her hand for landing and takeoff.
No.
And I was explaining every single noise that I could hear, the landing gear coming down, you know, the flaps and everything else. I was sort of explaining, as well as I know as cabin crew. I'm not flight crew, so I can't explain all the technical bits and bobs, but I was trying to sort of reassure the whole time. So if we've got a passenger, they tell us when they come on, we know they're going to be anxious. We say anxious, you know, it isn't part of being an aircraft that you're going to be put in danger. You know, you've got to separate the two. That's just your mindset. So you sort of try and talk through, you explain turbulence. We actually love turbulence as crew. We know as soon as those seatbelt signs go on, and we do get this, where parents argue where they don't want to take their babies out the bassinets, you know, and me being a mum, that's the one thing that really aggravates me. So we sort of explain why you have to. I mean, as long as you're strapped in, you're safe. Aircrafts are designed for turbulence.
Yes.
You know, they're bendy. Whereas as a passenger that didn't know, you know, that aircraft's been put through all these, you know, different tests, they need to sort of, you know, you need to explain that to them. But all you can do is reassure, give them
I
cup of tea or coffee. And
I always say to passengers, if you're worried, then just look at us, because if there's anything that goes wrong, you'll see it in our faces. And when turbulence is happening, we're all smiling and laughing. So it's just, I feel like that's one thing that comforts passengers as well, because they do look at us for reassurance. And if there's a bump or something, they just look at us, and it just says it in our face, really, that if we're not worried about it, you shouldn't be either.
I mean, and flight crew, you know, they don't see turbulence as any danger at all, which is sort of drawn into us, and we sort of get that because they go through all these training programs for turbulence. I mean, and you do jump if it's sudden turbulence, which you very, very, very rarely get. I mean, I've never had severe turbulence ever since I've been flying. I only know one other crew member that had severe turbulence, which was a sudden drop. She wouldn't have hurt herself if she was strapped in.
Right.
So if you listen to the crew and the captain and do what you're supposed to do, you won't get hurt in turbulence. You know, so you sort of
And if we do feel unsafe as crew, if it is really bumpy, even if there's a service going on, they'll always put our safety first. So if we feel really uncomfortable, you know, serving hot tea and coffee and it is really bumpy, then we do have the choice to strap in. And
Yes.
I think that's really, really good, because there are crew that feel uncomfortable. You know, not everyone's like, not everyone's crazy. Like, I love turbulence. You know, some crew absolutely love it. Some crew are like, I need to sit down and strap in, and that's fine. And you always get a mix of people.
And we also know that the flight crew, it's not, you know, they might get a bit bumpy, but they've also been radioed by everybody, every aircraft that's around them that have gone through that area, the weather conditions and everything. So you know they've got a sort of updated
they'll do everything
weather
to avoid it, won't
they don't want to go through it for a laugh. They will avoid turbulence if they can, because they need to get from A to B as safely as possible and without passengers getting worried. We need those passengers on board. You know, we don't want everybody being, you know, frightened to get on because of turbulence.
No. So anything else that worries people that you've come across?
Sort of noises. So when you're taking off, which I didn't know before I was flying, I'd always hear sort of landing gear going up and the flaps, and you know, I couldn't understand why do they have to have the blinds up?
Yeah, they always say that.
And why have they got to have the armrests down? So you sort of, if somebody looks at me, I said, please, could you put the blind up? They like look at me and I said, it's because you can see out at the wing and I can't if I'm sitting in my jump seat. So, you know,
you have to explain. You'll be the first person to see the problem outside the window, and you'll have to let us know. And then it kind of clicks in their brain, doesn't it? And they think,
on and, you know, landing gear going down. I know exactly when it's going to go. If I'm sitting at door 3, you hear it and the flaps going up. So I understand the noises. Obviously, passengers don't. But knowledge for passengers is so valuable if they're anxious. So that's really good as well. Sort of being able
you don't see good programs about aircrafts, do you? It's always crash, disaster, this, that. You don't see. Well, it is. There's nothing
only
positive, really.
That particular program.
Yeah, no, but if you go on Netflix, it's like, the plane that disappeared, blah blah blah, and it's like that. It's so rare. It's just silly. Like there's no good programs about flying. I mean, there was a program that BA put a few years back. They put it out, didn't they? That was really good because you got to like get to know insight of the aviation world and all the positives about it. Whereas like you don't want to watch the negative stuff all the time because it is scary to people that are nervous.
Yeah, that's right.
It's only every disaster you only hear the negative, don't you?
Yeah. You don't hear all the good things. You don't hear, crews, evacuating a plane safely and this and that. They don't spread good news about that.
I mean, I do know some of the crew on the Vegas aircraft that caught fire on the runway, and they were evacuated so quickly, the passengers, because they knew what they had to do to get those passengers off. Everybody was safe. Everybody was unharmed. So the training really does teach you in the worst scenario, which I know crew that have been flying 60 plus years and they've never had a disaster or a near miss or anything that's going to affect anybody on that aircraft. So it's very, very rare.
Yeah, I think people have I was gobsmacked when they said that every aircraft has to be cleared in 90 seconds, even with doors blocked, and you think, crikey, that's some sort of like training and some standard that a lot of people just don't know that, do they? So
it works as well. I mean, the training, all different scenarios where you've got to sit in a jump seat, they put the evacuation alarms on it, and you don't know if there's a fire outside the window or you're going to do a ditching or anything. So it surprises and freaks us out because we're looking to see what have we got to say? We've got to get those passengers off that aircraft.
I mean, I don't know about you, Mum, but even when you're for takeoff and landing, when you're in your seat and you're doing your silent review, it is drilled into your head what you would do in that instance if something happened. Like, we have got that drilled into us. So we are constantly always prepared for anything to happen.
Yeah. I mean,
and you try to sort of not think about it, but as soon as you sit on your seat, That's all you think about.
Yeah, and with the aircraft door, obviously, you know, that one that's just opened, and in wherever that was the passenger opened the door. We know that must have been horrible for the passengers and horrible for the flight crew and the cabin crew. But you know, it's below a certain amount of feet that would happen. If it's above that, I mean, they could land safely below that with the aircraft door open. But if it's above that, that door's not going to open anyway.
Yeah,
because of the pressure. So
yeah, I did a little. I did a post about that in our Love Fly Facebook group because I saw that someone alerted me, and I was like, because the press said door open mid-flight, and I just thought, well, that's crap straight away.
yeah,
so,
that's absolute rubbish. So that would have frightened the hell out of a lot of people.
Mm.
You get people like parties at the ends of the aircraft, especially when they're flying out to do the cruise ships. But all the guys sitting on the bulkheads, like at the doors, you know, they're drinking their brandies. When you're, you know, mid-flight, you know, you have to say, come on, guys, it's not a party. You need to go back to your seats. But
Yeah.
I've got no worry. They can't physically open that door anyway.
No.
So, you know, you wouldn't worry mid-flight if somebody was standing by the door, would you?
No.
No, we always say that, if someone had a go, you're not going to just stand there and watch them. But, by the same token, you just know the safety of the aircraft is just...
Oh, gosh. No, we have got handcuffs and God knows what on. Gags and handcuffs and God knows what to stop these people that...
I wonder where this is going then.
Yeah, strap them down to a seat.
Like, what you do in your own time's up to you, right? You just keep this up.
Those are gone, Paul. Those are gone. But no, it's surprising. I mean, we've got kits for ladies that give birth. I'd love that if somebody went into that.
The other day, I'd love it if someone gave birth on the aircraft.
And like all the medical
wouldn't.
equipment, and it's going through to Medlink if there is a medical on board. They're looked after. The passengers are probably more looked after on an aircraft than they would be if they was at home.
I totally agree. I've always used to say when I ran the courses, if you're going to have a heart attack somewhere, do it on an aircraft. Because you've got defibs, you've got people trained, you've got your Medlink. It's just to make.
Yeah, there's always guaranteed one doctor or nurse on every flight, so we can see if there's a doctor or somebody medically trained on a flight, or they tell us as they board, so we know if there is anything that's going on. There's two halves to a medical kit. There's a crew side and there's a doctor's medical side, which we can't use. We're not trained to use that, but guaranteed Medlink would get them to the safest, best hospital, diverting straight away. So that's quite reassuring for passengers as well, especially when we do the Kingston flights, and there's a lot of elderly passengers that go home. Saskia nearly fell off her bed. She's sitting on a stool. She nearly went flying backwards. There's a lot of passengers that go home, either they want to be at home to die, or they want to see their family. So you do get the medicals on board, don't you? Those trips. Everybody's,
you do panic about it as well, especially before you start. You think, oh my God, what would I do if this happened? Blah, blah, blah. But the amount of medicals I've had, it's like I said again, it's just drilled in your brain. You just know what to do. But it is scary.
I think crew are trained, which is great, and it's very calm.
Yeah,
because they will not fly if there's any possibility that there could be an incident mid-air or takeoff or landing. They need to make sure 100% everything they've done is going to be in hands.
Yeah.
So there's no way, even if there's a little seal that's on the door, a crew's not sure, they will make sure. They don't care if the aircraft's delayed, they will get an engineer, which really peeves the passengers off because they haven't got a clue what's going on. They just think they're being delayed, but they will not take off if there's anything that could cause an incident.
Yeah.
That sort of mindset's been there a long time.
Yeah, I mean, there's always plan A, B, C, lots of plans that they go through. I love sitting in a flight deck. I'm not a flight deck floozy, but I do like sitting.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I do. I'm so interested in it. Takeoff and landing and listening. And, I have asked if I can. I didn't know where the radio was. So if I needed to speak, if something happened in the flight deck, I'm quite interested in everything. So I needed to know where the mic was, what I'd say, and and they let me do that. Pilots, captains, they're quite good at, if you want to understand something, they will talk you through it to reassure us, not about flying the aircraft, but about communicating.
Yes.
So they are really good at things like that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all very good. We love flying.
Yeah, so we're getting that very strongly. So just wondered if we could sort of do a kind of a closing thing, like for anyone who's listening who is scared of flying, no matter who they fly with, what would you say to reassure them?
Turbulence isn't a problem. Turbulence is very normal, and the aircraft it's been through so many tests and it's bendy. So you've got nothing to worry about with turbulence. If
Just a bump in the road, isn't it?
It's just a bump in the road. Seatbelts go on. There's a reason why. We just don't want you banging your head. Also, anxiety is a mindset. So if you can read up or go on courses and understand what triggers you before you actually get on that aircraft, that would be a massive help as well. And also, if you still got a fear when you get to that aircraft door, let the crew know, because we're there to hold your hand and help you. We'll get you a cup of tea. We'll get some chocolates from somewhere. We won't plaster you with alcohol because we'll be having to look after you for other reasons. We're there to help you. So as far as we're concerned, mum and daughter, I wouldn't want Saskia flying if I thought she was going to be in danger, which I do not feel. She'd be probably more in danger going on the tube and train up to London every day. So if there's a problem with anybody, speak to the crew, speak to the manager at the aircraft door, and they're there for you to help you. You agree?
Yeah, completely agree with that.
Amazing. I can't thank you enough, you two. Brilliant.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for coming on, and it's such a lovely story. And I know we've been trying to get it for ages, but I know with flying and stuff, it's the chance of you both being available at the same time is pretty slim. But to think that I've known you both for ages, when like Saskia's playing with my daughter when you were squidges.
Junior school.
I know.
No, infant school. It's infant school, isn't it? Sports day. Sports day.
Yeah,
watching them with their running races.
Yeah, double trouble. We were.
I
still are actually.
For you and Dilly?
Yeah, I'm talking to her now actually as we speak.
But I didn't know that you did this course, until I started flying, really.
Yeah, so, I didn't really know. I mean, obviously, I at some point had done this, but I've done other jobs as well. But I just, when you sort of do the school run and stuff, you don't always get a chance to talk to people. So I never knew you had any interest in ever doing this. So there you go.
Neither did I.
Yeah, she stole my dream. That's right.
And got in there before you, which is
I know. I pushed myself.
Really poor
I have to start thinking about something. I've got to succeed. So yeah, it all worked out well.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much. That was absolutely lovely, and it's great to talk to you both as well. And I'm very jealous, but I just love the thought you both been out there flying around the world. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have to let us know if you ever get on one of our flights.
I expect chocolates.
Yeah, the whole shebang.
You'll get the rosé champagne.
That's
and
what
everything.
I want. Yeah, I will be a diva.
No, we would look after you. That would be fine.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Love Fly podcast. I hope you found it useful. Now, as always, if you need any extra help, please join our Love Fly Facebook group. You can also follow us on Instagram at Love Fly Help. And also, if you go to our website, which is lovefly.co.uk/shop, you can see other ways that you can get some help. Thanks for listening.